soif. Je bois sans dire à tout.
What's going on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. We're back this week with movie reviews and maybe not news items per se, but well, there's one like.
I would call it news, but we're gonna be ranting.
But it's more of a topic of discussion as opposed to because it's like because it's like news. It's not recent news.
No, it's not recent news.
It's not recent news, but I think it's something important to talk about nonetheless.
Yeah.
But mostly rants. I think safe to say it'd be mostly rants. I know we're a little bit of a we're a day late, but we're all happy International Women's Day.
Well, this whole month is Women's History Month too.
This is true.
Which I didn't know that became a thing.
Nor did I. But yeah, it's so important that now, like, on my phone's calendar, it at the beginning of the month, it specifically said like March 1st. It's like Women's History Month.
Oh God, that's
which I was kind of worried because it was very interesting because last year there was a lot of weird things that happened last year, but I remember just scrolling through my my apps and like my calendar specifically, and I was swiping through ahead in the calendar, just so to add certain tasks or put down certain appointments, and I noticed that they didn't have certain holidays on it.
Yeah.
But then they had these other holidays, or I guess that you can call them holidays, but I certainly never heard of them.
They're non-holidays.
Right, and I mean I'm not necessarily. And I wasn't necessarily upset that those holidays were put on there. It's what was taken off. For example, in November, for some reason Thanksgiving was missing, but they had usually the Friday after is known as Black Friday, and I don't care if it's if the special notification of that Friday being Black Friday is on there, but instead of Black Friday, it was Native American History Day or something. But yeah, but they didn't have Thanksgiving.
Indigenous Peoples Day or something.
Or something. Yeah. No. That's Columbus Day. But that was another thing. In October, instead of having Columbus Day, they had switched it to Indigenous Peoples Day.
I refuse.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I don't care. I don't care if that is added on to that day, or but if you remove the long established holiday, that's where I take umbrage.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not saying like we have.
I know. I guess it's like a pain right here, right? Like right in the middle of your forehead.
With all these things where it's this revisionist history, all this stuff. Like, let's not pretend that like when people came over from Europe over to North and South America, that that like, okay, yeah, there was Indian groups here, and it was this like grand utopia where, and it was just us, Europeans coming over that ruined everything. Let's get that fact. That was not the case. This was not some grand utopia that these people lived in. In fact, were there good tribes? Certainly. You would
Or
call
yeah, well, like, were they? Let's. I know because we're gonna get raked over the coals for using the word good, but let's say peaceful, more peaceful tribes. Yes.
yeah. Wow, Andy, like, all right. I don't care if we get raked over the coals. Like, if people want to be wrong, that's on them.
Okay.
Uh, but no, like you said, yeah, there were peaceful tribes, and then there was tribes that terrorized a lot of the tribes that were peaceful.
Or I dare say imperialistic.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, what do you call the Maya? What do you call the Aztec? Like, if not
If you
imperialistic.
want to watch a good movie on that, it shows that not all tribes are made alike. Watch Apocalypto. That's a pretty like
Yeah.
realistic.
Oh, that was actually what something I was gonna touch on is when you were talking about how they were killing each other. At exactly that was the point. I think that movie Apocalypto was making was like long before any bearded white man stepped foot on the continent, they were killing each other.
Yeah.
And
Well, even
on a regular basis.
well, even in the case with Columbus, he had his issues too. Most of the stuff that people bitch about it with him now, a lot of those come from his political rival, who pretty much like came up with all these lies about him. But for whatever reason, those lies ended up kind of becoming like
For some reason, those lies persisted.
yeah, and I don't know if any of them like have
Francisco.
some.
Oh yeah. You could look it up too. The was it Columbus's chief political rival was Francisco de Bobadia.
Yeah, and I think the letter still exists too,
Yeah,
somewhere.
he was basically slamming him to the Queen of Spain, where it's like, oh man, Columbus ain't shit. Yeah, he's stealing from you actually.
Yeah, and he's doing all
and
these things.
just completely defaming Columbus.
And in reality, like there was actually some of the tribes that were like coming to Columbus and asking for protection because there was cannibalistic tribes that were taking these guys out. And you look at a movie like Bone Tomahawk, which well, I mean, a different area of North America, but it's showing this cannibalistic tribe that terrorizes a town.
Yeah,
And it's like
it shouldn't be that hard to believe. I mean, because
it's
even
not.
like it's understood. Like I think it was the Maya or Aztec that they would like they had ritual. I think it was depicted in Apocalypto, but they were ritualistically cutting the hearts out of people.
Oh yeah.
While they were still alive, and then and they ate and they would eat body parts, thinking that it would imbue them with their enemy's strengths.
Well, you read the journals of the Spanish explorers like Cortez and all those guys when they came upon these temples. I mean, they literally thought that they had descended into hell. I mean, these things were their temples were running with blood of these people that were
cascading waterfalls were cascading like waterfalls of blood.
Yeah, and like they even today, like there's this giant like mountain of skulls that like they don't even know how many are in there. It's just it's insane. But no, remember it was this grand utopia where they all got along until we got here. So we can't celebrate anything of the accomplishments of a guy like Christopher Columbus or any other pilgrim or explorer because they're evil because they have white skin they're from Europe.
Right. Yeah, and I'm one to say that, and I'm sure you are too, Robert. But if good information, good validated information came out and said, and corroborated all the negative things said about Christopher Columbus, then yeah, I would, I would have to change my worldview on
Yeah,
the
of
situation.
course.
But so far, there hasn't been.
Well, the thing is, like you said, most of the things that are lauded against him are it's it'd be like Joe Biden writing a letter about a nasty letter about Trump, and that's surviving like 500 years, and then that's all we would that's all we
Yeah,
would
that's all
see.
we knew about him. Yeah, he put kids in cages, and he didn't, and he let a deadly virus sweep through our country. Like if that's all we knew, if that's for some reason, like let's say like all the books got burned or like the internet went down, and that one letter that Joe Biden wrote to like a loved one or something was the only thing that survived, then for then from then on, the view of Donald Trump would be that.
It's like, wow, what an evil bastard.
Yeah, it's just like I think yeah, because someone who who's who's helped me have a form, or at least form more of like a historic view on this, was Michael Knowles, and he said it best. It's like um what if your, how do you put it, was basically like, how would you like your reputation to be based solely on your internet search history?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just, I mean, that, so it's kind of like, yeah, do you want to be, do you want to be characterized by, out of, maybe out of context, or just straight out like lies?
Yeah, it's and but that's what happens because it's the easy thing to do, I think.
Of course, it's more easy to tear down a man than to beat him, I guess,
Yeah. But
or
yeah,
or not like, out compete him. But yeah, that's that's, I mean, humans have not changed for a millennium. They
several
have
millennia.
they're the same for a millennium. They're the same. They're the same. They're the same vile, spiteful wretches. That they've always been. I mean, not, but there's always redemption. Don't get me wrong. There's always redemption. But as long as as long as I want to say something very profound, but I think I'm jumbling it. But as long as the heart of man, or at least for as long as the heart beats within a man, screw it, I fudged it up.
It's all right, Andy. It happens.
I
I've
didn't
been
stick the landing. I didn't stick the landing.
It's all right. We I'm having one of those weeks too where like I'm not the wordsmith that I normally am.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, you're not. You're not bringing your A game.
I'm not bringing my A game. That's okay. That happens sometimes.
Yeah, I'm just I just had an emotional day today, so because well, we finally put my aunt to rest.
Oh
Today,
yeah.
so, yeah, it was very emotional day.
Very trying day for you.
Yeah, and I didn't know how emotional it was gonna be for me, but yeah, it ended up being more emotional for me than I realized.
Yeah.
But man, it was crazy. There was like probably at least a dozen funerals going on that day. We just saw like as we were coming into the cemetery, it's just like we was like fresh grave there, hearse running, funeral procession over on this side, funeral procession going up on this side. Um, it's really crazy because they couldn't even fully bury my aunt today.
Wow.
Yeah, like they were.
I
I mean,
wonder
they
how many
like
bodies that they've been putting on ice just because people
no. I
there.
mean, yeah. I mean, that's the other thing. Is like my aunt died. What is it? Like late January. They
Yeah, that's
weren't.
why
They
I thought that. I was like,
yeah, late January. And then like her kids, my cousins, they weren't able to get an appointment uh, to coordinate the funeral and stuff until like mid February, and then in mid like
just to coordinate the funeral.
yeah, just to coordinate the
Jesus
funeral,
Christ.
and then yeah, and then they couldn't. Then they finally squeezed in the actual ceremony in July, like the first like the second week of July, which is today.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, I know we sound kind of callous when we talk about like the what is it the virus that's or whatever. But I think I speak for Roberts. Like we never denied like the impact that was having on people. You know,
This is
uh,
definitely one of those impacts.
yeah. Um, and who knows? I mean, I guess we'll never know. If things would have been mitigated if because all we have is what we've done, and what we've done has resulted in all of what has happened. And so yeah, we'll never know if we hadn't locked down, or if we hadn't given up our liberties or whatever, that maybe it wouldn't have been as bad.
Yeah.
But again, we'll never know, and what's happened, and all we can do is go forward. And in my specific case, it was kind of a mercy too, because again, my aunt had Alzheimer's. Like, she was sundowning. Like, she didn't even recognize um, half of us. You know, it's only when like my parents and like my aunts and uncles, they would like talk to her and kind of remind her like the old days, that that the light kind of came back into her eyes.
And then it's like she was your aunt again for a
Yeah,
short
and then she
time.
was for a very brief time. Yeah, and so
That to me that is a very scary disease. Just because I think if there's a lot of horrible ways to die.
mhm,
I pray to God that that is not something that I succumb to. But unfortunately, my family has a history of it. My great grandmother died of it. My grandmother just died of it. My cousin is in the initial stages of it, where like he was diagnosed where he has like early onset dementia, and he's
mhm,
in his mid 40s right now, I think.
mhm,
So it's just like so it runs in my family, which is scares the crap out of me.
mhm.
And I see the effects it has, where it's just like you don't even the fact that like, you don't remember who you are, who people are. It's that to me scares the hell out of me.
Mhm.
I'd almost rather have my body fail, but have my mind.
Right, yeah. Or like, yeah, because like at the stage that my aunt was in, she was like she wasn't verbal. Um, and so she didn't do that much talking. So like whatever so she all she could do is like communicate with like through was like looks, and kind of very like I know like almost like syllabic like utterances. Um, but yeah, it's like, but my cousin, her son, said something very I think kind of sweet. That especially given the time that she passed away, was around the same time that her husband, my uncle, uh, passed as well. And so it was in a weird way, or in kind of like a merciful way. It was like, her husband came to come get her.
Yeah, which is, I think there's some truth to that, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, my cousin told me that. It was just, it was such a beautiful thing. Such a beautiful thing. It's just a beautiful thought. Um, Especially since, like, my uncle, he passed away a long time ago.
Yeah,
When I was yeah, like, very young. And so, like, yeah, my cousin, like, he lived his entire life without his father, and and my aunt, lived the rest of her life without her husband. And so, but to have her, pass away when she did, it's a sweet thing to think that her husband came to come get her when her time came.
yeah. My wife always tells me that like I had to die before her, which is like I keep telling her like I don't know if I really have much call on that, but it's like I guess I guess we could do like a murder suicide thing, like when. Or anyway, no, I had to die after her. That's the thing. Okay, she wants to die before I.
Yeah. She wants to go. She wants to go first.
Yeah, well, it's like, well, I guess it has to be some sort of like murder suicide thing, I guess.
I guess.
But if I start to die, I got to take her with me or something.
Or something. Yeah.
Because I am 7 years older than her, so it's more than likely that I'll probably end up passing away first. But we'll see. Who knows?
We'll see. I don't know. I'm planning to get to 120. So.
That I have no doubt in that, Andy.
Yeah.
I have no doubt.
Well, I mean, especially if I don't get married. If I don't get married, I'm pretty sure I'll make it to 120.
Oh, 100%. I've already I think I've lost about 30 years off of my life.
Exactly. When you get married, it's like every year is like more like is more like 3 years.
You have no
but.
Well, Andy. I'm sorry to hear that it was such a tough day for you.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that your aunt is at peace, and hopefully your family finds some peace as well.
Yeah. It's always a scary. It's not scary, but it's a little it's a little unsettling to see like your own, when your parents cry, especially my dad. Whenever I see my dad cry, it's not like unsettling.
It's rough, dude.
It's not. Yeah. It just hits you. It hits different. It's like you see your mom cry. You see, I see my sisters cry. No big deal. I've seen them cry hundreds of times before. But but my dad, like the only times I've seen him cry, were both at like kind of like at family funerals. Like I remember the first time I saw my dad cry, and that was when I was still a young child, and it was after my grandmother had passed, his mother. It just hits different because like my dad, like his nickname is the Tiger in our family.
Yeah.
Because of his temper. Yeah, when like as I say next to my dad, I could hear him like sniffling and like his in his eye, and like him like dabbing underneath his eyes and stuff.
Yeah. There's only been a few times I've seen my dad cry. Now my dad actually does have like kind of he has a heart, like he is kind of a softie. Mm-hmm. But I've only actually seen him cry twice: when his dog died and when Dale Earnhardt died. And I'm pretty sure, like when my grandmother, although I still have this feeling that my grandmother might end up outliving us all. She's 97 and she's like she's ready. She's already like she's ready to go. She's getting upset that she's like, why am I still alive? She's shaking her fist.
I know. Yeah, it's like she's the one. She's the type where she wakes up in the morning. It's like, damn it.
Yeah, she's like, fuck. It's like, come on, God, take me already. It's like,
come on, you coward.
Yeah, it's like she's she's ready to go. I think she might like outlive us all, but if not, I think that'll be a day like when we all kind of cry as a family.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when your dad cries, it's a little like, wow, this is serious. It's a big deal.
Yeah, it's like seeing Superman. It's like Superman. It's like watching Superman getting decked.
Yeah,
That's that's how I'd equate it.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, well, like I said, I'm praying for your family. I hope you guys
Much appreciated.
are given some sort of peace and comfort, and yeah, obviously, and I'm always here for you. So if you need to
Appreciate it.
go out and grab a burger or something, just let me know.
For sure.
Yeah. On the other, well, I guess if we're doing a little bit of a catch up, I haven't really done. Actually, it's kind of nice. I've had a lot of alone time this week, which is maybe why I'm in good spirits actually.
Maybe. I wonder.
No, it's been kind of nice. Because I've been kind of getting caught up on just more like just some things that I've been wanting to do for movies I've been wanting to watch. So I've had some time to do that. I've been having and it's been Siren Central outside all day. I think there's something going on, but they're just kind of getting caught up on some like rest and things that I've been wanting to do, and just kind of being able to do things without interruption is so nice.
I bet. I mean, especially knowing your wife.
No, but no, well, I mean, to her credit, she's been working really hard. She's been working quite a lot actually the last like week or so, week and a half. So I know that's really tough on her, which I tell her is like, just if you need some rest or you want to like do something, if you need to take a break, don't worry about it. She's like, no, we need this, we need that. It's like, well, don't like kill yourself, honey. It's like, but no, she's one of those people. She's stubborn. She doesn't listen to me, so she just kind of does what she wants. So I'm like, all right, if that's what you want to do, it's like whatever. But no, it's been nice. So she's been working a lot. So it's been when I get home, it's kind of like I get some time to myself, which is kind of nice. And it didn't take me like 3 days to watch one movie because I keep getting interrupted.
Yeah, who's that? Like, why is he doing that? What do you say?
Why?
What do you say when I said? What do you say?
Why is this black and white? Why aren't they talking? This is stupid. People are probably like think I'm a dick. Like, I actually do love my wife. Okay, she's great. She's a good person. I married her for a reason. It just
yes. You're beyond me. But that's okay because
yeah.
I'm not the one that married her.
She's fun. Like I do actually enjoy spending time with her. She just has a little bit too much like energy sometimes. Where for me, I'm more laid back and subdued, and it can be exhausting at times.
Your wife is that kind of fidgety. What is it? Kind of like that fidgety, wild, like little chihuahua.
That's right. Oh, bless you twice, sir.
Thank you.
Well, speaking of other rants, we ended up talking about Columbus Day versus Indigenous Peoples Day, which obviously the reason we kind of like brought that up is the idea of now we have, well, what was it? Yesterday was International Women's Day, which honestly, like, I did remember hearing something like it has some sort of like, communist beginnings. I don't know how true exactly that is, so I can't really speak to that. But the idea of, in the whole month itself is this, Women's History Month, which, to be honest, I'm a little tired of, like, every day, like, I look on, like, my, Twitter timeline or, like, Facebook stuff, and it's just, like, all these, mediocre to negligible accomplishments of people, or I'm like, honestly, like, I think my mom is so much more important than most of these people that I keep hearing about. Now, don't get me wrong, there are lots of women who have accomplished a lot, like, that are actually, like, really cool women. But a lot of times those people don't get talked about because, they're either of, they're not of the right identity politics, or or the right, political persuasion, or maybe they were like, ooh, they were controversial or whatever, but they still accomplished a lot. Um, but just the idea of just these, I'll just focus on, like, something I do know something about, because, like, NASCAR have done that, where, there's people like, they're highlighting, all the women in the sport that have accomplished a lot, or have done, been, inspiration, as it was. Now there have been, like, some actual, like, women who've, maybe not necessarily in a, as far as, like, winning races or whatever, but there actually have been some pretty accomplished female racers who, didn't either never really got the chance, or didn't really have the right equipment, which, there's been a lot of drivers that have, fallen under that, that problem. Like, to me, like, some people, most people today would know, like, someone like Danica Patrick, who, honestly, like, she actually was given the chance. She had top notch equipment. I don't know if she, but she also came from a different discipline of racing, in IndyCar, where she actually did win in IndyCar. So she's an accomplished woman in sports. But, like, when it came to NASCAR, she just didn't have the same ability. Like, driving a stock car, which is much heavier and doesn't handle as well as opposed to an Indy car, very different. But, I look at someone like a Janet Guthrie, back that she raced back in, like, the 60s and 70s, didn't really have the team, or the equipment, or anything, like, or the funding behind her. But, what she was able to, when she did have the right stuff, she was able to actually compete up front and, race with, like, some of the greats in our sport. And even those greats who, would not necessarily be, politically correct, like guys like, Richard Petty or David Pearson, those guys who are as tough nosed as they get. They're like, yeah, this lady can race. She knows what she's doing. She actually had, like, the right stuff. She'd win races. And I'll take their word for it, because they know what they're talking about. But, like, we're highlighting, like, people who are either haven't really accomplished anything, just from the driver's side, have never accomplished anything, or, just, like, like, they haven't been in the sport long enough, or they haven't accomplished enough to really, like, warrant, like, being like, oh, I'm a woman in a man's world, kind of thing, which is like, if any sport, had, most women and men can't compete in a sport together, just because, uh, sorry, women will die. Like, football, it's just never gonna happen. Basketball is kind of another one it's just not gonna happen. Racing, however, is kind of an equalizer. I think, I really do. I do believe that this is a sport where a woman, like I said, given the right team, the right equipment, and and if they have, but yeah, it's just I'm just so tired of just the let's reward people who've actually really done something, or they truly are pioneers, not like uh you know, but I just I don't know. I probably sound like a huge jerk, but I just don't like the idea of us rewarding people for mediocrity, or because that doesn't accomplish anything.
Yeah, fair point.
Because a lot of times, like especially we've created this revisionist history, and we reward all these people for mediocrity when it's like, no, I don't think that they deserve that type of credit.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked that much into a lot of like this. But I remember when like that movie Hidden Figures came out, and I was talking, the the black ladies, behind the NASA space program, and
Yeah.
and like oh, like how they all did this and that, and I'm not exactly 100% checked out on like all the details on that, but it's just like you know I don't know why. I just couldn't be brought up to like care. I was like, okay, so what? It's like, yeah, they did the thing at a time where it was like so hard to be a woman and and black. It's like,
What, a
okay,
woman can do math?
I know, wow, a woman can do math. Okay, yeah, and I mean, I don't know, because and then like I don't know if this is true, but then in the movie they put like this scene where like like what is it, John Glenn, like after only meeting this character or this person one time, was completely checked out on, like completely like bought and sold on her, and it's like say, oh, I don't want to go, I don't want to go until the numbers are right. Let's get that colored girl to do the numbers. I trust her. I mean, I don't know if that's actually, historical, but but it just
honestly, like
and it sucks. It really sucks because at this point, it's like they've gotten me to the point where I don't even care, or like I'm like highly suspect of that. Even if it was historical, I'm highly suspect of that account. Like maybe John Glenn really did say that. Really, maybe he really did want I forget her name, something Johnson,
yeah.
to be to go over the numbers one more time before they launched and whatnot. It's like,
Well, I
but it's
remember
like is that and like he wouldn't go until she double checked. And I was like, maybe she did, but it's to the point where it's like they lifted up such mediocrity that it's hard for me to believe anything anymore.
well, because the other thing that kind of like the reason like all this kind of came to mind too, because I was watching Dunkirk again for, I think it was like my second or third time watching it, just because I was like I hadn't watched it since I saw it in theaters, and I remember there was a whole lot of uproar over that movie because, oh, there's a lack of color in the movie. It's like, that's not the fucking point, for one, and then two, it's like it's also World War II. There really wasn't a whole lot of
in Europe.
exactly
And am I saying that there were no black people?
no,
Of course not. Of course not. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm just saying the majority were white Europeans.
right. Well, that's well, because their whole thing is like, well, what about the Indian troops that were conscripted by England? It's like, oh God, like and honestly, like I'm just like, who fucking cares? It's like they're if they were that important, it would have been in the fucking movie. And to be honest, like that wasn't the whole fucking point of the movie. Like it's a
right. Yeah, and if they made a difference, maybe someone would have come along and made a movie about them.
Yes, but the point is, like, yeah, it's telling it's a point in history that Christopher Nolan is using, but it's not necessarily like it's kind of like a historical fiction in a way, because it's utilizing characters that probably didn't exist. It's just
Right.
like
I mean, yeah, it's historical fiction because like the whole Dunkirk thing was a thing where Churchill rallied civilian boats to help with the evacuation of um, that French city or whatever of
yeah,
British troops. That's a factual thing. That's
that
historically
happened.
accurate. That happened. Historically happened. All those little side stories with the man, his son, and the friend, the platoon of British soldiers just trying to make their way out of get evacuated, or Tom Hardy's fighter pilot who gets downed and protecting all the soldiers on the beach. He's like whether that happened or not, it's irrelevant.
Yeah, and it's like, and honestly, like, I kept hearing all those articles about that. It's like, I don't fucking care. Like, nobody, and honestly, like, I guarantee that those people don't care that are raising a ruckus about it. Yeah, and you know who also doesn't care? Indians. I've asked like several. It's like, yeah, I don't care. Yeah, it's like, and they're from India. That's the thing. It's like, do you care that like, oh, that you weren't represented in Dunkirk? No. Oh,
Right.
okay.
I mean, every Vietnam War movie you see, it's always only depicting Americans. Was it only Americans that fought? No. I mean,
No.
my own father went, and I don't know if he fought, but he definitely was in country and served, in the Korean Marines at that time.
Yeah.
And but you don't see every movie include a battalion of Korean soldiers, South Korean soldiers. It's like, who cares? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
You
I
know,
mean, like,
if someone wants, yeah, I mean, because my brief, kind of more like happenstance research on the subject is that, yeah, Korean soldiers during Vietnam, they kicked ass. They were like one of the most highly decorated soldiers in the entire war.
and maybe they will make a movie on it. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe they will make. Maybe a Korean movie studio will make that movie.
And
And when it
honestly,
happens,
I'll be right there to watch it because if it's a good story, I'm gonna watch it.
yeah, exactly. And who cares if if there's a white guy or a black guy to he's like in there. It's like, it's about Korean soldiers. So
Yeah.
why and then if people get on like
Andy, I'm not represented in that movie. It's wrong. God.
yeah, I know.
I'm so like I said, I'm tired of like. Trust me, I'm all for like if I'm doing like research on a subject or I'm reading about stuff like, and I'm learning. Oh, I didn't know that like the like this these people. I didn't know that like this particular group is involved because I've been doing a lot of stuff on after we did our thing on the documentary They Shall Not Grow Old. I did a lot more research into World War One, and there was a lot of stuff that happened during that time that I didn't know, and I learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh wow, I didn't know that this country was involved or how they got involved, and like what their role was. But you know what I don't need? I don't need a fucking movie that oh, we got to make sure that these people are involved in this movie because we need to represent everybody. No, I don't fucking care. It's not a documentary. It's not a it's not strictly history report. It's a movie. It is meant for entertainment. Like, who the fuck cares?
Yeah, I mean, if we're getting really into it, like who cares if a certain race isn't portrayed by a certain race? I mean, because there was like that, there's a huge uproar, when it was like floated, the idea was floated that Leonardo DiCaprio was to play, or was to represent, Martin Luther King Jr. in a movie, in a biopic, and people
Wait,
are like losing
what?
their shit.
Well, I mean, wait. So Leo DiCaprio was gonna be Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah, and I don't know how. Like, I don't think they're gonna do like the blackface route, but like maybe because because now they have like those deep fake, they have deep fake technology, or they could like digitally sculpt someone's face, in post production, you with the little, if you've seen pictures of like Andy Serkis, doing mocap work, and he has like all those dots on his face.
Right.
Yeah. So like, yeah, they were like gonna take that and like, sculpt like, Abraham Lincoln or Martin Luther King Jr.'s face onto Leo.
No,
But like because the question was, the technology is there, so that could happen. And so like the question was saying, like, should we take race completely out of consideration when casting?
Oh well, I mean they've already like first of all, it's like I don't see it. Like I just because I don't know, I just don't see it. But
right, I mean, I understand conceptually what they were going for or what they're going for, but it's just like practically, I can't envision that happening, or I can't envision what that would look like. Like Leonardo DiCaprio, like, if he's not doing blackface, then they're doing some sort of digital manipulation to his face to make him somewhat resemble Martin Luther King. And just like,
I don't see it. I would say no, just because it's like it's just because I don't think it would work.
okay.
But not because I'm like, oh well, because he's not like this skin color. He can't do this role. You know why I would say that? Because in Tropic Thunder, Downey Jr. plays a black man, and he does a fantastic fucking job of it.
Oh yeah. Say, what's wrong with you people? Huh? What do you mean, you people?
Yeah.
Hey, what do you mean, you people?
Oh, we gotta rewatch that.
I'm a dude pretending to be a dude, pretending to be another dude.
Yeah, exactly. Oh god, it was so great.
Yeah. That's crazy because like now that's like even now that's kind of being called into question. It's like, oh, was that racist? It's like, no, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Because he was lampooning the idea of some like of like these kind of like these actors doing like these crazy things for roles.
He was making fun of method actors.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was basically making fun of Christian Bale. I mean, we have that joke where it's like, we had that joke where it's like, oh yeah, Christian Bale's so method that for 3:10 to Yuma, he actually cut off his leg.
Yeah.
For fighters, like, oh, Christian Bale's so method, he actually became a meth addict.
Yeah.
And jacked up his teeth just so he could like properly embody, the Dickie character. It's just
yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, he is. That's what Robert Downey Jr. is making fun of. He's making fun of method actors. It's hilarious.
There you go. That's all it is. He's not making fun of black people. He's making fun of method actors. Okay.
God, but see, people miss that. They don't see that. But like for me, like I just when I was thinking of that, it's just like, don't get me wrong. Leo DiCaprio is one of the great actors. He's the Cary Grant of our time. He really is. I mean, the guy has been in hit after hit after hit, and I just don't see it. I'm just that's one role where I was like, no, I don't see that's one where I was like, I don't think his acting talent would be there. But I mean, the idea of them like removing like the idea, oh well, this person is they're removing voice actors that are, oh, this person's not of this skin color, so he can't be a voice actor for this character because the guy who's been doing the voice of Dr. Hibbert for years, they're having him stopping doing that voice, and so they can bring in a black actor. It's like,
right. Yeah,
why?
I mean, it's just like it's the same thing with Mike Henry on Family Guy, who is a white guy, but he does he does the voice of Cleveland Brown.
Who was awesome. He did great.
And he's great. Yeah, it's like you're trying, and then like he's no longer gonna do that. So you're basically erasing black characters. You're essentially erasing minority characters. I mean, yeah, same thing with like Hank Azaria. Hank Azaria for years has been doing Apu on The Simpsons, and then now they canceled Apu, so now they're effectively getting rid of minority characters.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
just
and it's
like
and you can, you could say, you could say that Apu was a stereotype. It's like, yeah, he was a stereotype,
every
but he was also,
character in that show is a
yeah,
stereotype.
like the comic book guy. He's a stereotype of comic book nerds. Professor
Yeah,
Frink is a stereotype of intellectuals or scientists.
yeah, it's like
Mr. Burns is a stereotype of wealthy
wealthy elite.
conglomerate wealthy elite. Mr. Smithers is the stereotype of the closeted homosexual.
And a sycophant.
Yeah, and a sycophant. Stereotypes all over. Stereotypes all around.
That's the whole point of the fucking show. I really hate this shit so much. It's
And I mean now it's like, I mean, like with the whole with Cleveland Brown now too. It's like who are you going to get to replace Cleveland Brown? Exactly. Like Mike Henry, the guy who did the voice, he brought such a specific. He basically crafted that character, and he's a character. He's not like, and who cares? Cleveland Brown is a cartoon. He's not a living person. He's merely lines on a page.
To be honest, I'm actually kind of surprised because, what's his face? Like, I know he's a lefty, but like he has like kind of stood his ground when it comes to like his work, and and the fact that he allowed that to happen, I'm kind of shocked.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what was that? Like, yeah, and I mean, and and let's not forget, Seth MacFarlane had had Family Guy canceled twice. It got canceled twice, but because of fan outroar, it was brought back.
Yeah.
And it's like, and if any, and out of all the groups that had reason for him to have him canceled was the Christians. Particularly in his depictions of Jesus,
which I thought were actually pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it got kind of to the the disturbing points where there's like that one where like Jesus was like bathing and like Stewie like walked by, and
that was well. Now see, I'm much more a fan of like very early Family Guy, like the first like 5 or 6 seasons. Those are like that's where I really
like that. Yeah, where it was still like new and fresh.
Yeah, the more like recent. I haven't watched it in a little while, but like the early stuff is brilliant.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, like even with South Park, like even though they do depictions of Jesus, it's not like as egregious.
No.
But yeah, and I mean, and again, kudos to Seth MacFarlane for calling out things way early on, like with the whole Bruce Jenner thing and the Kevin Spacey thing.
Oh yeah, like I mean, he's been very in a lot of ways, like his comedy's been very cutting edge. Like South Park though, those guys are out on the edge. Those guys are awesome.
South Park guys have been constantly working without a net from the very beginning, and people have been I think both sides of the aisle have come at them at one time.
Oh yeah.
And yet they still abide.
There was a time where like I don't know what it was, but there was a time where I was like, I didn't really care for South Park, but then I gave it a second chance. I was like, wow, this is actually really brilliant. And
as a junior high kid, I loved it because they were like swearing in every episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I thought some of the stuff was like the fat jokes at Cartman's expense and whatever, constantly calling Kyle a Jew and just
one of my
Jew jokes.
Yeah, one of my favorite episodes is actually like one of their fairly recent ones was kind of making fun of like the kind of like what we're talking about today, like the all this representation and kind of like mediocre history, historical figures and stuff, and they brought in this guy. It was I think it was a Thanksgiving episode, and they brought in this guy who is supposedly quote unquote Indian. And he was like 1/16 of some tribe, and Carmen's like raised his hand like, does that mean I only have to pay 1/16 attention to you? I had to pause it because I couldn't breathe. I was laughing so hard. I was like,
yeah,
oh,
no,
it's great.
Yeah, no, they were, definitely, yeah. The South Park guys, they're always way ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I mean, and
it took me till I got into an adult to like really appreciate the genius and like them like
it really is
just calling everything out like very early on. Like they craft every episode like sometimes like the week of, and that's just like amazing.
I mean, yeah, because like what they're doing, like it's not exactly like great.
In terms of animation. Yeah, in terms of animation and stuff, I mean, it's got a little bit more sophisticated. But in terms of animation, it's nothing that you couldn't do yourself. Like back, like I mean, I'm sure back in the day. No, but like in the early days, they literally like cut everything out like with construction paper.
It was like felt and construction paper.
Yeah, and then and then it got more sophisticated with like computers and things like that. But yeah, it's like it's still like they're still sometimes depending on like if some topical thing happens in the news, when that happens they'll craft an episode like within a week.
It's insane.
Yeah, and
Trey Parker and Matt Stone, those guys are on another level.
Yeah, you want to talk about genius? They're geniuses.
Those guys do not give a fuck about.
No.
And I love them for it because they shouldn't. That's the thing. They shouldn't give a fuck. It's just, you're making a funny show, and you make fun of everything. Great. I love it. Like honestly, like there'd be people like, oh, there's too much. You get like people who have too much of a stick up their ass. Like, oh, there's too much swearing, and like they're making fun of Jesus. Okay. But then they're then they start making.
Yeah, then they go and make fun of. Then they make fun of Jews, or they go make they make Satan in a homosexual relationship with Saddam Hussein. And
yeah, or it's like, and I love they name their black character Token.
Yeah, Token. Yeah, exactly.
It's great. And the thing is like, and normal people like us was like, yeah, this is funny. Like it's just, and it's. We enjoy it because it's like it's meant to be enjoyed. It's like, oh, hey, they made fun of me. I love it. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's just it's like the whole like it's the whole Precious Boy thing where it's like you have an overbearing mother and she specifically tells like a group of boys not to make fun of her precious little boy. And like if they do, then they're gonna be punished, and so they don't make fun of him, and so it's like so he doesn't feel included.
Exactly.
It's kind of like and another kind of example, it's like the coach's son.
Oh God!
It's like you can't make fun of the coach's son. Like if when he misses a grounder or he misses that double play or something or whatever what have you. It's like if you don't make fun of him, then he's ostracized and he can't, and then he'll never develop.
Right. Exactly.
As a person or a player, because it's like because if it's anybody else, it's like, oh, way to go, like genius, let that grounder get by you. In a weird way, that's I think we are gonna get this movie eventually, but in A Few Good Men, Code Reds, and how Jack Nicholson's character Colonel Jessup, tells what is it? Tells Tom Cruise's character and Demi Moore's character that. On the record, he discourages the practice, but, and off the record, he thinks that it's a highly valuable
lesson.
tool for close tight infantry training, and he's not wrong. And he's not
He
wrong.
really he's not.
Like where we divide is probably the severity, but the idea of that, it's like where when one of the witnesses kind of describes what a code red could entail. It's like he describes what if someone refuses to bathe on a regular basis, they give them a GI shower, which is they they scrub them down with like steel wool and like Brillo pads.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck. That's
You
But yeah, but I it's to help, like, because if you have like one edge that's sharp that needs to be like sanded down, and they refuse, it's like you got to sand it down because it's gonna fuck up the whole thing.
Exactly.
I mean, that's and I haven't necessarily been in a combat situation, but I've gone through boot camp. I've done all that stuff. And you have to work as a unit. And yeah, trust me, there were some motherfuckers who didn't bathe, and it's like you have got to fucking shower, dude. Like it's gross. I mean, especially with like all like the sweating and everything that we would do, it's like you have got to.
Oh yeah, the body odor.
Oh my god, it was so awful. And it's like, or if like you don't, there was like this one kid who didn't know how to like iron his shit, like, or he wouldn't iron his stuff. And I mean, he looked like a mess, but he was like trying, like, but you having these inspections, and like he was the one guy who didn't do it, or he didn't do it right, or when he did do it, like he did it like really half-assed. There was one day he was trying to iron it, like trying to flatten out his shirt with like a book. It's like, dude, that's not gonna work. It's like we're all gonna get fucked over because of this guy. It's like, no, this is not gonna happen. Like, and yeah, we had it out with this kid. It's like, no, dude, you gotta fucking do it right.
What we talking about? We talking blanket party here, or
no? Because that would, if that had happened, like, because that obviously had been like highly discouraged. Like we couldn't do that stuff, but like there was other stuff like where we like, it's like, listen, motherfucker, like we're kind of like holding him by like the kind of almost like the back of his neck, and it's like, we're gonna show you how to fucking iron. Like it's very easy. It's like, and it's almost like holding his hand, like like and instead in showing him how to do it. It's like, all right, I'll do it better. It's like, no, motherfucker, you're gonna do it. Like we're gonna all
not better, right? You do it right.
Yes, exactly. And I remember there were so many days where like the drill instructors would like, they would look in his bunk and like how stuff is sorted out, and they're like, this is all fucking wrong, and they would throw his shit across the room. And it's like, oh no, it's gonna be one of those nights, and like we wouldn't be able, and we would lose sleep because of him. Just like, fuck this guy.
Am I bringing up bad memories?
God, I was so mad. Oh, and especially because like there was these times like where like it was a night like where, because we would also have like to kind of like in the military you have like guard duty and stuff, and so we would have sentry duty. And the thing is, I remember like there was one night where like I almost lost it because I had like, mine was like during the middle of the night, so I get like a couple hours sleep, and then I had to do that, and then I get to sleep for a couple hours more. And that guy was cutting into my sleep time. I was like, this fucking idiot. Like I was so mad. So yeah, exactly. You got to stand off those edges. You can't like, hold someone like, oh, my precious son, or my precious child, like he can't be made fun of because like, no, sorry, like it seems like the world has become like all of these like children that like got protected by like these overbearing mothers, and it's like, and they are trying to nerf the world. It's just like, good fucking god.
So it's the whole bubble boy treatment.
I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
Thank God my parents were like that, but I feel like I'm in a world surrounded by bubble boys.
Yeah. I mean, my mom is kind of like that. She was very protective of me.
No, don't get me wrong. Like my mom cares about me. Like
No, no,
she
no.
does,
Yeah.
does
No,
look out
but
for me. Like
no, of course. But what I'm saying is, yeah, my mom was kind of like oh, we got to make sure that Annie doesn't skin his knee practically.
well,
But
my mom didn't give a shit about that.
yeah, but my dad was just like, just let him be a kid.
No,
Although it was like weird because like they would like sometimes trade roles because sometimes my dad would be like very like my precious son and my mom would be like, oh, just let him be a man, and then sometimes my mom would be my precious son.
That's very confusing.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, it's like I didn't know like where they stood because sometimes they would like switch off roles. It's like, did you guys pick a side, please? Just for the sake of for my sake.
Yeah, the few times like where my mom has like when my dad was like trying to like kind of get me like he was trying to get me interested in like riding motorcycles, which I kind of was. I still to be honest, I am kind of like I do kind of want to learn. But my mom was like, no fucking way am I gonna let my son ride a motorcycle. It's like, well, you let me ride a motorcycle. It's like you can be replaced. So there was that, and then like when I'm out like on the racetrack, my mom can't watch. She's my dad doesn't matter, but like when it's like when it's me, she has to like kind of like be elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit of a dangerous sport.
Mm-hmm.
So
for sure it is. For sure it is.
But that's not me. But she didn't stop me like, no, you can't do it. You might get hurt. No, she always let me do it. She just can't watch.
Yeah. And she just can't see you doing the thing.
Right. Oh. I'll just say, like, we gotta stop nerfing the world, dude. It's so. Don't get me wrong. I do like things about the time period that we live in, but I just like I wish we could just kind of like get rid of a bunch of people that like are just useless.
Right, like so like you almost like want to have like a test to see like
Or it's like,
Yeah,
how
so,
about
like-
this? Like, not get rid of them because that's kind of cruel. Like that's
or
kind of
yeah,
like
or let's have a test where it tests your intellect and your physical capability, and then
Like-
what like and not early on, but like after let's say after 25, because that's when they say like your a person's brain is fully formed and things like that, and that's about the peak of your physical capability.
it's like how about this? You go over there. I'm gonna go way over here, and then we never have to see each other again.
Yeah, or put them in like specific tasks to do.
You want to nerf
I
the
don't know.
world? You stay over in that corner. You nerf
There you
your
go.
corner
Yeah,
over
you
there.
go. Yeah, you go and pad every corner. Sand down every plank of wood.
You identity politic where you are over there. That's great.
Yeah.
Do that.
Just you keep all that shit, on your side and to yourself, and I'll keep everything, all my shit to myself and on my side.
Exactly. Who knows? We might actually be getting to that point at somewhere soon. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've toyed around with the idea of balkanization, but it's just, I don't know. It just, it doesn't always like seem to work out. It's like there's always something that like you couldn't possibly get everyone who falls within like your specific like little slots. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
because even like because I mean as similar as you and I think and have the same similar values, I'm sure there are like some finer points where like we there could be some division and some kind of contention.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah,
So
the
outsiders.
the older I get, like I start to understand like why my grandfather wanted to live by himself in the mountains.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I get it.
Me too. Yeah. I mean, there's an appeal. There's an appeal to that type of lifestyle. For sure.
I totally get it. Well, I don't have any other rants. I just want I want people to realize like with all these celebrations and you know Women's History Month or whatever History Month. It's like, can we please, for the love of God, stop rewarding people who either contributed very little or have like been very mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
Like, trust me, like I'm not saying that like there's not, that there haven't been like women that have been like important to history or whatever. Let's celebrate the people that have actually done something, that have really contributed and have moved our
Yeah,
society
but then
forward
yeah,
towards
and
making it better.
right, and like because the messaging has been kind of muddled too because it's basically like celebrate because of vagina basically not because of not because of what what I do or what someone else did, another woman did. It's like praise because vagina.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what that's what the feel has become. Not that what like it has become, but it's like that's the feel that I'm getting from from this.
Yeah.
It's just like work like praise me because I have a vagina.
Well, I mean, like the Twitter feed, like it's, oh my god. Yesterday was like all the you have all these people. It's like, I love women. And it's like, and then there was
Yeah,
like,
like women empowerment and yada yada yada. It's basically it's like celebrate me because of vagina.
well, and then there was like one guy that spoke up and said like that he loved women. And it's like, this is the day like where men should shut the fuck up. It's like,
That I mean that means you too then, jackal.
yeah, it's like, I'm like, oh my god, just I hate all of you people.
Yeah, I mean, just as stupid as it would be for to be like, oh, celebrate man because of penis. That's as stupid as that sounds. That's the same thing as all of this, you know,
Exactly.
celebrate women, you know, nonsense.
Let's talk about something fun, Andy. I need some fun in my life.
Well, I mean, there
Oh
still
well,
is that one.
actually, this next topic is not fun,
Yeah,
but it needs to be
um,
talked about.
but it has to be talked about, and that is the kind of upswing in attacks on Asian people or people of Asian descent, and and it's a horrible thing, and there's like this push to to advocate more awareness of it, but there's always one thing that's missing from all these articles and news reports about these attacks, and it's the I don't want to say race, the the demographic of the assailant.
Yeah,
And that's one thing that the mainstream media and even politicians aren't broaching, which is that it's the near exclusivity of the assailants being black.
right. If you look at, I mean, especially everything I've seen on like social media and all the newfound uproar, to like attacks against Asian Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's the way that they're phrasing it. It's like, oh well, this is a something like, oh, it's Trump or it's white people in general. It's like the way it's made it sound. It's like, oh, it's all these someone like me is attacking like Asians because of reasons, because oh like they don't look like me, so I gotta attack them because of my my hatred for anything that's different. And
or the other justification where it's like, oh, because Trump keeps calling it the China virus, and so
exactly.
people are going out and attacking Asian people because they just can't tell the difference.
Well, but the way that but there was really nothing like when the whole quote unquote pandemic started. There was, and like just as like the lockdowns and all that stuff was starting, even before that, like there was a lot of like those type of attacks already. I mean, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but like yeah, there's a lot, and it's really both sides. Honestly, there's a lot of black people that don't like Asians, and trust me, it's there's a lot of Asians that don't like black people.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
I'm not gonna pretend that there's no like animosity between Asian people and black people.
there's not a whole lot of love lost.
Yeah, there's not. I mean, yeah, there's not a whole lot of love lost there. And I can go on and say like, oh, I've had black friends and da da da. It's like, but it's but we're talking about the statistics. Because yeah, I could I can give my own anecdotes and whatever. But that's my experience. And my experience doesn't necessarily speak for all Asian people or all black people. So.
But yeah, but these attacks were happening well before like this whole craziness started. But yeah,
I mean,
it did.
Like just a couple years ago in Koreatown, there was an elderly woman who was attacked, like in like the parking lot of like a pretty well-known church in Koreatown.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually think I knew like her, like the granddaughter or something, or the daughter.
Right. And so I mean, this stuff was already happening. But when the pandemic started, it ramped up even more. And it had nothing to let's be honest. It had nothing to do with Trump. But like, you know why I know it had nothing to do with Trump, because there was no outcry at all from these same people that are now all of a sudden now like they're like, oh wow, there's all this attacks against Asians, and like we really need to stand up for our Asian brethren. It's like, where the fuck have you been?
Right, exactly.
And these are also the same type of people that don't give a fuck when like Harvard is pretty much saying like, oh well, sorry, you're Asian, you can't come into our school because we have enough of you. But we need more of like we need more of this demographic in here. Now you've earned it.
It's basically saying and it's like basically saying like, oh yeah, you work too hard. You work too hard for your grades, so you're not gonna go with you. We're gonna go with Tyrone over here.
Yeah, and it's like, but no outcry on that, because we always talk about like, oh, it's supposed to be merit based. It's supposed to be we don't care about race or religion or whatever or gender. But nope. But like clearly we have example like Harvard is like obviously one, but there's many examples of this happening.
Yeah, well, at least like the Ivy League for sure, like Harvard and Yale. Yale came out too just recently.
Yeah, and it's like, where were you? Because clearly, like this should be like one of the leading like lefty causes, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not, because like it's really sad too, because it's like that's the soft bigotry where it's like, oh, you poor black people, you've been oppressed for like for so long that you can't do anything for yourself, so of course we have to help you because you can't do anything for yourselves. It's just like that we have to get justice for you because because Lord knows you can't do it yourselves.
Right.
Like, how fucking racist is that shit?
But the fact that like now they're all up in arms. Oh, our poor, even like because a lot of my kind of lefty like Asian friends that I know, they're talking about this stuff, and I'm like, where have you been, dude? Like this has been happening. Like I as a white person know that like this has been happening for like quite a while now, and no one has said a fucking thing. But and you're just now getting to the game, like now, like what changed all of a sudden?
Right. And And then it's like one of the reasons I feel like we can never tackle this is because we're not allowed to call out the assailants. It's because again, it's the near exclusivity of the assailants being black. It's like they'll never address that in every
Yeah.
article, in every news report. It always, usually if it's it's particularly if it's a white on black, it's like, oh, white man, William Jeffries, 36, assaulted, Tyrone Biggums,
Yeah.
or in a violent and in a racist attack. That's the wording that they'll use. But for this, for like black on Asian crime, it's like, oh, individual suspected of hate, of assault against Asian man. It's like, well, okay, you identified the victim, but you didn't identify the assailant. You just called them an individual.
That
Whereas,
happens
as
to white
opposed to
people
the
too.
victim, where you specifically call out, by that person's race.
Yeah. That happens to white people too, by the way. It's the same thing where it's like, if let's say, if God forbid, like, some white person like attacks, someone who is Asian or like a black person. Oh, I mean, it's like it's the crime of the century.
Right, 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 right.
When it's the other way around.
Right. If it's a white person, it's like the assailant is always immediately identified as white. If
Yeah.
if the suspect is white. Yeah, if it's a minority, they never identify. They never
I'm
identify. They
telling you,
say
these people are-
individual or suspect apprehended in assault against other such minority.
I do have this like sinking suspicion that like the news coverage, the media class, and like a lot of these people that want to run their mouth on social media about this stuff and give us the feels, like they're like, fuck, he's black, like I can't say it's some individual, like there's all these attacks, like, against Asians, but like it's people in general, like there's a lot of like, no, it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
And it's and it's like, you're not saying like, not, it's not all of the like, it's not all of this one group, but there are
Right.
a lot of people from this group that are doing this.
Right, and
So
it's
just
like,
say
yeah,
that.
and immediately, everyone from that group has to, disavow or, make assurances like, oh, we're so sorry this happened. Of course, this doesn't reflect on, all of us. I mean,
Stop with that. Like,
when the Virginia Tech shooting happened, and it was like that Korean kid, every Korean was like, oh, he's like, our bad, we in a weird way we kind of own him, it's like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, our bad, I know he fucked up, but I know that we're not all like this. But it's like, it's only but if it's a white person, it's like, oh no, they're all bad. There's no redemption for them.
it's fucking ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, just and kind of highlight this, I did find an article uh, where probably like one of the well-known assaults on an Asian individual. This was like I think this happened like last year or so, or a little bit
I
before.
think the case you're talking about, I do remember that happening. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like sometime like last year, even like pre-COVID.
Yeah, because they had video of this happening.
Yeah, exactly. They had video of it. But right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a crowd. Yeah, it was a crowd of neighborhood black people. Yeah, and I think the one who was recording it, he did get. I don't know if he got charged, but I think he was. I think they were like investigated. But yeah, and Yeah, it's like this. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Um, but yeah, well, the DEA basically uh, dropped the charges,
Oh
uh,
boy.
on these guys, and what is it? Was they said that they were gonna go. What happened? I highlighted it.
Did Google erase your?
I know that Google erased my no, because I it's an extension and you're able to highlight certain things. Oh, here it is. Yeah. But basically, yeah, they supposedly talked with the victim, and they said that after talking with the victim, the old man, uh, they the old man agreed that they should pursue a restorative justice uh, outcome for this case. So they're not charging him. They're not. There's no consequences for these people, for these individuals. And
Oh
so
wow.
what does that tell what does that tell this group of people? What does it tell this specific demographic of people? That you can practically get away with murder, is what it's saying.
Yeah, I guarantee that if we actually interviewed that person, like with and talked to him, I guarantee that like whatever this fucking DA said, that was not what this guy wanted.
Right. And I mean, let's be generous and and kind of going with the stereotype of the non aggressive Asian person, and maybe he didn't want to create that big of a fuss. Like, but do you think like he would use the words like restorative justice?
Fuck no.
No. And I'm again on this podcast, on this live stream, we constantly are saying that if you take an inherent good and you add an adjective in front of it, it ceases to be that thing.
Oh, it's word salad. It's nothing.
Yeah. So saying restorative justice means injustice actually.
Yeah.
Because again, it's like the idea of restorative justice is, you either destroy somebody else, or you put such restrictions on them that they essentially become slaves.
Yeah, restorative justice, social justice, these terms mean nothing.
Because like the idea of equity, or versus equality, um, or the example that I use, it's like, because equity and equality are different things, and 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 inequality doesn't mean injustice.
Exactly.
It just means inequality. And so, yeah, the example that I usually give is, think of a sloth and a cheetah. A cheetah is faster than a sloth. So they're unequal. They're unequal. But that doesn't mean like that it's wrong or immoral. And to bring equality to that, you have to either chop off the legs of the cheetah, or you have to or you have to like put you have to like tie the cheetah's back legs together.
Yeah, it
I
just
mean, that's the only way.
it's the idea of uh, where initially like what we want is equality of opportunity. Like we all have the ability, like we all have the same opportunity, but like what they're trying to create through all this stuff is like equal outcome. And it's like it's like, oh, you achieve too much, so we're gonna cut you off. kind of the idea of a lot of these Asians that were being barred by Harvard, where it's like, oh, you've done too well, so we're gonna cut you off here, and then it's like, then you're raising up all people that don't belong in there, and it's like, oh, so you're creating this sludge where it's like nothing good is done.
Right, but in fact, you're actually destroying um, the less qualified student, because
Right.
because like what if Tyrone is not capable of rising to the bar that Harvard sets
And
or,
now that doesn't
or
mean that he's
requires.
stupid either. That's the thing.
No,
It's like,
exactly. Yeah, and
but
I know.
you're
Yeah,
like,
people are gonna hear that there. They're gonna think that I'm like some sort of racist or something. But
but no, like Tyrone isn't stupid. Like it's just like there's a certain when you think of like Harvard University, there's a certain level that they're looking for. There's a certain there's something like if I went to Harvard, I wouldn't do very well. I'm sorry, I wouldn't. That doesn't mean I'm an idiot. I'm not up to the standards of the Ivy League standards.
right,
Just like Tyrone's not up to Ivy League standards. That doesn't mean he's dumb. That he's not going to be successful in life. It just,
Mhm.
but when
he's
you
just
put
not
it,
gonna be. He's just not gonna be successful at that.
but yeah, but see, you set someone up for failure. I think that's wrong. Like
Right,
you're
yeah,
gonna,
and then
you're gonna fail in
and
Ivy
then
League.
you're actually creating SJWs, because then he's gonna feel embittered and it's like, oh, the system is rigged against me.
That doesn't
And
mean that he has to go to like Grambling State. Like he could still go to a really good school and actually succeed very well.
right.
And and to be honest, like the whole college system, like to begin with, is already fucked beyond belief. But
Hmm.
because honestly, like if I had kids today,
Hmm.
I would not send them to the university system because
Yeah,
I
of
think
course. Yeah, yeah. My degree literally means nothing. I mean, I went and I got a degree. I'm in debt, but yeah, my degree literally means nothing.
yeah, it's mainly most degrees today are worthless.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if my heat was ever turned off, that would be the first thing to go into the fireplace to keep me warm. Yeah, it'd be used as kindling to get my fire started. Um, but yeah, they're trying to engineer a world where everyone starts at the same place and everyone crosses the finish line, with the same foot, and at the exact same time. Everyone's foot crosses that line at the exact same time. That's what what is it? Oh, God, you just said it. Not equal
Quality of
opportunity,
outcome.
but equal, like, yeah, equality of outcome. Yeah, that's what the quality of outcome is. They control everything to where, like, you start up exactly at the same spot, and the exact same foot on every person crosses the finish line at the exact same time.
Yeah, and it's like honestly, like I don't. To me, like I'm focused on like myself. If someone achieves like it faster than me or like is does something like ahead of me, like okay, that's great. That they did their thing, like they did it a little bit faster. It's maybe I'm a little bit slower, but that doesn't mean that like I'm not like oh my god, I'm like so dumb. It's like yeah, because but I know that like that's not my circle. Like yeah, my focus is here, and I know I can be successful in this arena.
Mhm.
That's
Right?
okay.
It's like, yeah, it's like for me, like I'll likely never be able to play the piano. I'm just real about that. I'll likely never be
What?
able to play. Like, I'll never be able to play like Moonlight Sonata or Beethoven or Concerto Number 5 or whatever. On the piano. I accept that, but like if I but that's the equality the equality of but the equality of outcome would have to say it's like no, we have to chop off everybody's hands so everyone is equal.
Yeah.
So no one can play the piano.
Yeah.
And I mean that's kind of like the whole idea of like speed limits is because like we are the speed limit is for the worst driver,
God.
right? It's not for people who are really good at driving, who are capable drivers. The speed limit is for the worst driver.
Exactly. It's for dumbasses.
Yeah.
God, I'm really becoming a red foreman in my as I grow older.
Yeah, dumbass.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yes, the attacks on Asian people are, in a weird way. This is I think this is call me a conspiracy theorist, but I think this is the Democrat push to make Asian people victims.
To make them victims.
Yeah, to try to implant the victim mentality on them.
God, yeah, honestly, because now that it's being made such a big deal.
Exactly.
When for years this has been going on, not just through last year, but this has been going on for a long time.
Right.
But now now it's a big problem. Now it's a big deal. It's like you might have some smoke to that fire.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's one thing if it was just brought up here and there, and people were it was a really a grassroots kind of thing where people are trying Asian people are coming and bringing it saying, hey, this is happening, look at what's happening. But it's all these celebrities and these leftist politicians, Nancy Pelosi had this round this Zoom town hall thing with a bunch of Asian.
Oh, okay. Now you know what?
Yeah, and she's
definitely smoke to that fire. Then fuck.
Exactly. And then again, it was so stupid because she was saying because Trump's rhetoric or whatever is the reason why the spike in crimes against violence against Asians has risen. But but again, that's only for people who have no critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
And if you put what we've put together, you'll find that that's completely horseshit, because it's we've presented to you the idea that the overwhelming majority of attacks are committed by black people, or it's for black people it's nearly exclusive. There's some Hispanic, some Middle Eastern attacks against East Asian people.
And the other thing too is what people don't realize is that Asians in this country do better than white people. By the way,
right?
They've been more
let me just get this out real fast. But if you take that and then you couple that with what Nancy Pelosi said, or anyone who's anyone on the Democratic side saying that the spike in violence is due to Donald Trump's rhetoric, then it's so all those black people in urban areas are Trump supporters.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
I highly doubt it.
I doubt it.
And what I was saying is to try to create them into a victim class, they're not a victim class. It's just
no, not at all.
They've been more successful in this country. The Asians across the board, Indians, Koreans, Japanese, Chinese, they've been more successful in this country than white people have been.
Right. And interestingly enough, black people from African countries, particularly Kenya, are kicking ass. Even more so than some Asian categories.
Which is great. That's what this country's about. That's great. I'm actually excited about that. That's okay.
Exactly. I know. Yeah. It's who's gonna get upset with that? It's
if anything, it motivates me. It's okay, well, this Kenyan's kicking my ass. Well, I want to be him. It's
yeah, I'll never outdo him, and I'll never be able to beat him in a foot race, but I could definitely try to make more money than him.
You beat me to the punch, Andy. You beat me to the punch.
Gotta be quicker than that. You gotta be fast. You gotta be faster than a Kenyan.
Well, that's the thing, is because they don't have that victim mentality. You gotta and I what's just, it's insane. When you keep listening to these government officials and the government cares about me, that's great. No, the government doesn't care about you. And the fact that you're willing to listen to them, and honestly, I don't want them to care about me. I just want them to run the country. Do your job.
I know. Keep up the military and the roads, and that's it. That's all I care about.
Do is honestly like if they did nothing, I'd be okay with that. Like just let me have. I'm gonna pay you less. I'm gonna give you less in taxes. I'll pay for the fucking roads myself.
Yeah, no, exactly. Why? Like, and interestingly enough, that's how you know that the federal government has too much power, is because, um, even though like it's really a state's issue on, like, what age people are allowed to drink,
Yeah,
but the uniformity across state lines of 21 shows you that the federal government has too much power, because they leverage funding for road maintenance over all the states, so all the states would make 21 the legal age for drinking.
that's fucking insane. That's stupid.
Yeah, because
I,
think about it. Because think about it. That's really a state's issue,
exactly.
and it's putting the age limitation for drinking or whatever. That's a state's issue. That really is a state's issue. The federal government should have no say in that. But across the country, across state lines, it's uniformly 21 years old.
The fact is, like, we as a community should be like, oh, hey, like, our Main Street's kind of fucked up. Why don't we like all like chip in like, $20 together? It's like, okay, let's fix that pothole. That's what it should be, but that's not what it is at all.
No,
Because
exactly.
there's so many streets here that like have been fucked up for as long as I can remember, and there's been like no work done at all.
No, yeah. I mean, and particularly, in what is it, like South Central LA and stuff. Oh God, their roads are shitty.
Yeah, I was
Like you'll fuck up your shocks just going down one block.
Yeah, I mean, I was in downtown today. It's like it's garbage.
Yeah.
And the fact is, like,
I really, and like it's funny because like the gall that we still have to pay taxes this year.
Oh, dude.
Particularly after last year, the gall that the federal government is still saying that we have to pay them taxes. Fuck them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I already said it, like, because I got a fairly decent tax return this year, but the fact, and most people like they celebrate that. It's like, yay, oh, cool, tax. It's like, no, taxes should not be like you're filling out your tax.
Yeah, your tax return should not be something to be celebrated. It should be something to be pissed off about.
I was furious. Like, it's like, why didn't I have this fucking money last year when I needed it? Like, it's like, great, I'm getting my money back that you guys fucking owe me. That's my money to begin with, but you took too much of my money to begin with. So why? It's, and I look at like my paycheck like every couple of weeks and like how much is taken out in taxes. Oh my God, it just infuriates me.
Yeah, no, that's why. Yeah, that's because I used to, I mean, I still do take like 1099, but yeah, every year that check it cuts deep. It physically hurts.
Well, my wife, who she's not. I mean, she's grown up here, but she's not. She doesn't really know about this stuff. She's from Korea, but like she doesn't quite know like everything that kind of goes on as far as like how the government works. And she's like, why did so much like your pay doesn't seem right? Like it's like, why? Because a lot of my money is taken out from fucking taxes. The government takes my money. And I'm like, I look at it, it's like that's too much. It's like, fuck yeah, it's too much. It's like I should be having this much, but they take out like so much. I'm like, it's like, what's the point? It's getting to a point where it's like in California, we're getting to a point where like we're gonna almost have 60% of our income taken out in taxes.
Oh yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, and it's like but look at the surroundings. You have like 10 cities. You have shitty roads. You have fucking the forest burning down every single year.
Yeah, because they're not.
What exactly are we getting for our money? What exactly are we getting for our money?
We get like guys like Gavin Newsom and Nancy Pelosi and all these other characters from California that are super awesome, right? They're
Yeah.
they're they're these great upstarts. You know, man, they got great gumption. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Look. Yeah. Just look at everyone who's jumping ship. Look at all the businesses that have jumped ship. Look
Yeah.
at. Look at all the businesses that have left California particularly since democratic rule has been established. One of the last car manufacturers, Toyota, left California.
That's yeah. I never thought I'd see the day.
You know.
I mean, it's gonna get to the point where like, I'm probably gonna end up like leaving California, you know, within the next couple of years.
Yeah, not unless they come out. Yeah, I think it died in the legislature, but like they're floating the idea of a wealth tax, where like anyone who left California, like and made their money in like within like 10 years, like they would like basically try to tax you for
Oh
that money.
wow,
Yeah.
because they know like they're fucked.
No, exactly. Yeah, because like the people that have been streaming out of California is, I think pretty soon California is actually going to lose like a few seats in the Congress,
As they should.
as they should. But yeah, but you know what they say, so goes California, so goes the rest of the country.
Yeah.
So
I mean, this state's already bankrupt as it is, but
no, yeah, morally and financially.
yeah.
All right. I don't know. I'm getting depressed now talking about this shit. So let's wrap this up into our movie review because the movie is actually very entertaining and
God, this is I kind of just like threw this movie in there because I was because I when we did our actors list because I was looking at our top 5 living and dead actors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jimmy Stewart was one of my guys, and I was looking at like a bunch of his movies,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, what the hell is Anatomy of a Murder? And that seems like pretty interesting. And then I looked at it, like, and it just kind of happened to coincide with our theme for the month. I was like, fuck yeah, we're gonna do this movie, and I'm so happy that I chose this movie.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, let me hit up everybody with the synopsis and let's get it going. All right. Semi-retired Michigan lawyer Paul Beegler takes the case of Army Lieutenant Mannion, who murdered a local innkeeper after his wife claimed he raped her. The innkeeper, not the husband. Over the course of an extensive trial, Beegler parries with District Attorney Lodwick and out-of-town prosecutor Claude Dancer to set his client free. But his case rests on the victim's mysterious business partner who's hiding a dark secret.
This is this is an interesting movie. Well, there was a lot of controversies because I've been doing a little bit of reading about this movie. There was a lot of controversy about this movie because of this came out in 1959, and really the language and like the subject matter of this movie is very was very controversial at the time, but it's very dark for 1959. The idea of this rape case and the husband going and like shooting the accused rapist, and just like some of the terminology, like even uh they were talking about how like certain like words had never been used in movies before, like like contraceptive, climax,
Spermiogenesis.
spermatogenesis. I was like, yeah. First of all, I was like, I have never heard of that fucking word before either. I had to look it up.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, wow, okay. But it had never been used in movies before either. And
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you need a frame of reference, basically stick in the meme of Captain America from Age of Ultron saying language.
yeah, yeah, it really is that.
Yeah.
So this is just an all-around interesting movie, and as far as it goes, because we're doing court procedurals this month, and as far as like the legal aspects of the movie go, there's a lot of people who like when they who were kind of that watched a lot of court movies, they said this is actually like pretty one of the better like court movies, because it kind of deals with stuff that actual lawyers really do, that's not honestly like that they don't like to do, but they do. Most of their time is spent doing this, which one of the quotes I read was Anatomy of a Murder has been well received by members of legal and educational professions. In 1989, the American Bar Association rated this as one of the 12 best trial films of all time. In addition to its plot and musical score, the article noted the film's real highlight is its ability to demonstrate how a legal defense is developed in a difficult case. How many trial films would dare spend so much time watching lawyers do what many lawyers do most and enjoy least, fucking research? The film has also been used as a teaching tool in law schools, as it encompasses from the defense standpoint all the basic stages in the U.S. criminal justice system, from client interview and arraignment through trial. So kind of so the American Bar Association loved the movie, and
Well, yeah, because when what is it? Beagler, Jimmy Stewart's character, goes and initially meets with Lieutenant Mannion in the prison. He wasn't sure whether or not he was going to take the case, and he was trying to I think he was trying to see like if he could even mount a substantial defense for him.
Right. If there was like,
and very quickly he was like going through the options of like like self defense, or maybe it was an accident, but you know but it wasn't until like I think it was even Mannion himself who brought up the possibility of pleading insanity.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing about the movie too, where or kind of talking about our justice system as in and of itself, like some of like the trouble that is with our justice system, where it's like the film examines the apparent fallibility of the human factor in jurisprudence. In various ways, all the human components, the counsels for defense and prosecution, the defendant and his wife, and the witnesses have their own differing positions on what's right or wrong, and varying perspectives on integrity, justice, morality, and ethics. The reliance on credibility of witnesses and the finding of facts based upon those determinations is the Achilles heel of the judicial process. One controversial legal issue in this film is possible witness coaching, a violation of legal canons. The only plausible legal defense Lieutenant Mannion has, the insanity defense, is virtually spelled out to a befuddled Mannion by his prospective counsel, who then temporarily suspends the conversation and suggests that Mannion rethink his factual/legal position. Witness coaching by the prosecution is even more blatant, as they call on other jail inmates awaiting sentencing to testify against Mannion, which is portrayed as a subordination of perjury to an extent. The first suggests that the defendant may be concealing the truth and manipulating his story in order to obtain the best possible verdict, and the latter, that the prosecution dangled a possible lighter sentence through plea bargain as an incentive to perjury, which is kind of like, it's kind of fucked up, to be honest, because that honestly, like, this is one thing about like this movie. I really don't know who was telling the truth. I didn't know who to believe. And you look at like the guy that Mannion, who Beagler is defending. Like, honestly, like, I don't really believe his wife. Like, I think she was kind of a floozy, which is what she was portrayed to be as.
Right. Yeah, it was kind of hard because like immediately, when their first even interaction together, she was very, she's being very flirtatious with Paul Beagler. Um, so I think it kind of threw in the mind of the audience like, oh, this, she's just a whore.
Yeah, well, and like, I really have no idea who I believed in this movie. Like, even to the end, uh, I was I still was like, man, I don't know. I don't know in this case. Like, I can if what is being said is true, I'm totally on the side of Mannion. It's like, fuck Quill. Like, he like raped his wife.
Right.
I'm gonna shoot him. If someone did that to my wife, yeah, you best believe that there's gonna be hell to pay for that guy.
Right. Yeah, I think up until the point where it was revealed that the panties of Mrs. Mannion were found at the inn in the laundry. Up until that point, I think there was still enough reasonable
A lot of
belief
doubt.
to bring back a phrase from last week's movie, 12 Angry Men, reasonable doubt. There's still enough reasonable
Right.
doubt to assume that it was just Mrs. Mannion was a floozy and she just had was having an affair or a tryst with
Yeah,
the innkeeper.
Beagler was definitely losing that case
Yeah.
up until that point. And and really, like, well, the turning point was his partner. What was his partner's name? Aparna McCarthy, who found out that the girl that kind of ran the inn was not his like mistress, but like his daughter, and that was when like the balls really started to roll on the defensive side, because they found out that like more information about Barney Quill and like what he was into, and the fact that like where they were, she remembered that like, oh, he may have dropped those panties like to try to hide them into the laundry chute, and that's. But who knows? It's who knows.
Right, because just entertain a theory, like who knows, like it could have been like like Barney Quill and Mrs. Mannion, they were having a tryst, and after and like the panties were a keepsake, and then
Exactly.
as he was walking in, he might have heard somebody and it's like, oh, like kind of like, oh, what do I do with them, and then like just threw it into the laundry hamper.
Right, and like I said, there's still like a lot of like reasonable doubt, but that really was the turning point to the defense for like the story.
Because especially because Mrs. Mannion described the panties being torn off of her, which then they when they did find it, they did find a tear in the which I again, like if you cast it in a certain light, you could say like it was out of passion and like just trying to get off the panties as quickly as possible. In kind of like that in a tryst kind of way, not necessarily a rape context.
And knowing and then like knowing her husband too, who's kind of like he's a jealous fellow, that like she needed to like say like it's because she would have had her ass like that guy would have Mannion would have kicked the shit out of her had there been obviously like, oh yeah, I had an affair with this guy, where were you? That guy was definitely like he would definitely beat his wife. He had that look to him. So she she potentially like lied and said like, no, I raped him, and it's like, or I was raped, and it's like I swear on the rosary, it's like that it happened, and that's when he's like, okay, and then he shot him.
Right.
So, like I said, this is one of those, like, this movie is interesting because I think, kind of like last week where it's a with 12 Angry Men, we're given a different perspective on, as far as, like, we're not actually given any of the court case itself other than the facts and, like, the evidence that's presented, as those guys are remembering it. But, like, here, like, I feel like we never really know exactly, like, who's, because we never actually see the crime itself, so we don't.
Yeah.
We
So
don't really know.
so similarly, in 12 Angry Men, we don't actually see the crime, and so we're kind of, again, the audience is kind of put in the juror box, and we're just, and yes, we kind of have the benefit of, like, talking with Mr. Mannion and Mrs. Mannion, and the worker at the bar, and
Right.
and so forth. We get that benefit, but we're ultimately, like, in the same position as the jurors, and then, like, similarly in the jurors in 12 Angry Men. It's like we're just getting all this information set third hand, essentially, and like the most sanitized or the most tailored version of the events.
Right, and Beagler and McCarthy, who are, they're not Beagler is a former district attorney who was voted out, and McCarthy is, like, his mentor who's also an
former
alcoholic.
DA himself.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, they enjoy, like, kind of, like, talking about the law and, like, a lot of, like, law theory. I mean, God, these guys are such legal nerds. I mean, they read, like, Supreme Court justices, like, legal books, for fun, like, during, like, well, I can't really say much because I read theology books for fun, so I kind of see, like,
right, yeah,
I get it. It's so you have these guys that are they get, like, the wind of this case, McCarthy gets wind of this case, and he's like, dude, take the case. This is gonna be a fun one. And I don't think that, like, Beagler or McCarthy necessarily think that the guy is guilty, but I think they see this as a challenge, and to show that, like, they could still do their job. I think it's something like they're trying to prove themselves again, that they're not just, like, some washed up loser lawyers.
Perhaps. Yeah, I mean, that, I guess, that to lend more credence to that theory is, like, even, like, Paul Beeler's practice, it's just out of his house, and he has a secretary who's basically working for him for free.
I know, that's insane. She must, like, really like those guys a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And so, because like she constantly saying, like, "Oh, you got my paycheck for me," or "Where's my money?" And it's like, and, like, and, like, when the secretary doesn't do something that Paul asks of her, it's like, well, you can't fire me, you can't fire me until you pay me.
Pay me.
Yeah, you can't fire me until you pay me.
Right.
So.
I'll now, on the acting side, like, I love the whole, like, law firm, like, Beagler, McCarthy, and then the secretary who was what was her name? Maida Rutledge, I think that was her name.
Yeah.
I love, like, how, like, just kind of this in this movie this is a role I've never seen him in. He's an ass.
Who? Wait, who was an ass?
Jimmy Stewart's character, Paul Beagler. He's an asshole. Like, he's so, like, sarcastic and, like, kind of, he's a smart ass the entire movie. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, just, like, his kind of, like, his quips that he shoots out, like, during the trial, and, like, with when he's talking to, like, Mannion and, like, his wife. he's kind of a dick.
Dick Jimmy Stewart is my favorite Jimmy Stewart.
Oh God, that's what I was like. This almost is my favorite Jimmy Stewart movie. This is probably like number 2 on my list.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, I love the acting in this movie. George C. Scott did not chew up a ton of scenery in this one. Like this is actually one of his very first roles. He was great as Claude Dancer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was part of the prosecution team.
Yeah, you said that you said that this was like one of his early roles, if not the first role.
His first big break. Because let me go ahead and take a look at his filmography here. Because this was like his 4th ever film, and the other ones were like TV roles, and then he got this movie, which as Claude Dancer, and he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor in this movie. So I mean, this is really his big break, and he was great as Claude Dancer in this movie. I really thought.
Yeah, no, he did great. He did great. Yeah, and it's like he wasn't like he hasn't become like the George C. Scott that we know.
He wasn't the bombastic George C. Scott.
Yeah, he wasn't he hasn't gotten there yet, but
kind of. I would liken George C.
Scott. But there are small twinges of that, especially during like the more like hostile like cross examinations.
I liken George C. Scott to like Al Pacino. Like there's a before wherever he became kind of like nuts to when he did become kind of like the crazy actor that we know.
Oh yeah. Wow. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Actually, the judge though in this movie, he was actually a lawyer, and he was on the McCarthy.
Kidding.
Yeah, he was actually on the Joseph McCarthy
What?
Investigations. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. I had no idea. He wasn't just some actor.
Yeah. Oh no, I get. Well, yeah, he was. Well, let me read this real fast. Was an American lawyer who served as a chief counsel for the United States Army. Oh, so he was defending the army during the McCarthy.
Okay, but still, like he was involved. Like he wasn't.
Yeah, he was involved.
Like some actor.
Yeah, he's not just some actor playing a judge. Like he was a lawyer.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's so funny because he reminded he probably did do a lot of voice stuff, but I don't know why, but I keep hearing his voice in kind of like these old nature documentary kind of things.
He must have there has been something that he did be obviously he's been involved with other stuff because I felt like I'd seen or heard that guy before.
Yeah, no, something about the way the sound of his voice. For some reason, I heard as spring gives as winter gives way to spring, the North American woodchuck comes out of. I don't know why. Just think of his voice and what I just said, and it's there's something so familiar about it.
Yeah. But this so apparently this movie is also based off of it was based off of a book, but it was based off of a true case. Where there was located in Michigan, and it was kind of the whole idea of insanity defense that hadn't been used in a while or whatever, that kind of using precedent from 1886 in the movie. And it was so the whole movie was it was based off of something that actually happened. And this movie just I'm shocked. I chose this movie at random just because hey, it's a court movie and it has Jimmy Stewart in it. How can you go wrong there? I didn't realize that there was going to be so much depth to this movie.
just figured it out. Yeah, he did do like some narration for this television program called Omnibus. It was a commercially sponsored educational television series created by the Ford Foundation, which sought to increase the education level of the American public.
Wow, well, there we go. That's probably why I know that guy's voice.
Yeah, because yeah, it's again like just yeah, because it sounds like just think of these words like as winter gives way to spring, you know the cycle of life starts all over again. Just think of those words and like his voice. Like for some reason they fit. Sorry for that little indulgence there.
No, and not, but I don't know if you agree with me too, Andy. Like I said, I chose this movie at random, just saying it's like, oh, cool, Jimmy Stewart, I'm in. But I did not expect this movie to be as captivating or as kind of like as in depth as it was.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was completely caught off guard by this movie.
And like I said, Jimmy Stewart playing a smartass.
Yeah, smartass Jimmy Stewart is my favorite Jimmy Stewart.
God, it was great. I told you this guy has depth, dude. Like I told you.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't doubt it. It's just like that one movie, the man who shot Liberty Vance. It just felt like too much of it, like too much like Jimmy Stewart isms was coming out.
I'm telling you, it's still to me it's the greatest Western.
All right, and you're entitled to that opinion.
And you're entitled to be wrong, Andy.
I thought we already established I'm never wrong. So.
Maybe you can be wrong in one thing. It's okay.
Yeah. Never gonna happen. But
I don't. Do you have?
Yeah, but yes, the smart when the prosecution they're both like kind of tag teaming him. And he said like, "Hey, judge, I don't mind, I don't mind taking a few jabs, but as long as they're one at a time."
Yeah, exactly. That was honestly, I thought that was a great line.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like just even like as he's doing.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It was he said like, "Oh, I don't mind taking a few curveballs, but as long as they're one at a time."
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was just great. Like the acting all around, like the casting was so good. I mean, in fact, music wise, I mean, Duke Ellington makes a cameo in this, but he actually was part of the soundtrack. He did a lot of the soundtrack of the movie because it has a very jazzy feel to the whole thing. It has like kind of this kind of like late 50s like jazz feel to it. It was kind of a really interesting movie.
Yeah, it's very unexpected.
I don't know about you. I'm definitely gonna watch this movie again.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, maybe not this soon, but I'm definitely want to watch it again. It's a good movie, regardless.
Yeah. The other thing that really, before we end, like the one thing that I think kind of also throws reason why I don't quite believe, why I'm like kind of like not necessarily believing the guys that he was defending is like when it came time to for them to pay up for their legal case, they skipped town.
Yeah.
Which makes me think that oh yeah, they're not exactly honest people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because everything up until that point where you kind of still kind of give them the benefit of the doubt, especially after the huge revelation of what's her face? Oh yeah, Mary finding the panties. It's like, oh okay, so maybe it did happen that way, and but as soon as when Paul and Parnell go to serve the promissory note to the Manions, they go to the trailer park where they're living at, and it's like, oh, they're up and gone.
Yep.
Like they're in the wind, so it's like, great, all right. So it's like, yeah, so maybe it's like it's not exactly how they described it.
Yeah, but overall, really awesome movie.
Mhm.
Do you have anything else that you want to talk about the movie, or did you kind of get it all out?
No, I think that's that's it. That's all I have to say about that.
All right, let's give our ratings.
All right. You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I'll go first. I'm gonna give this movie. This is definitely. I'll say this is a 4 for me. It's not a perfect film by any means, but I was really surprised of how good this movie ended up turning out. Like I said, there was a lot, I wasn't expecting a whole lot with this, other than like I'm a Jimmy Stewart fan, but
Mm-hmm.
this movie surprised me in so many ways. And as the more I read up about the movie itself, I was like, wow, there's a lot more depth to this movie than I really realized. Um, so yeah, this was I'm glad I chose this movie. Um, and yeah, so I'm gonna give it a 4.
All right. Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you. It's a 4. Uh, yeah,
All
I
right.
mean, for all the reasons that you cited as well, and yeah, this was a bit of this was a kind of a surprise, but a welcome one,
Yeah.
but and a nice surprise. And it introduced me to the best, my favorite Jimmy Stewart, which is uh, smart ass Jimmy Stewart.
Got it.
So yeah, all right. Well, there you have it, folks. There's our review of Anatomy of a Murder. Both Robert and I give this a 4. Definitely recommend it. It is a really good movie, and we would recommend it to you, and you will enjoy it. I mean, I know we spoiled it a bit, but it won't take away from your enjoyment of this
Oh
movie.
no,
I promise you.
yeah, trust me. Like what we didn't really like dive into like every scene, but I'm telling you, you're gonna really like it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, and with all that, that brings us to the end of tonight's stream. I hope you guys had a good time. I had a good time.
I had a great
I
time.
know Robert always has a great time. Oh, don't forget to check out the library of other content we have. The Circle of Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Rob's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts, Twitter and Letterboxd at PodcastCOJ, and Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast. And with all that said, we want to thank you again, and we'll do it all again next week.